Welcome everybody. My name is Dan Sharp. I'm the senior PD trainer at ViewSonic. Really excited to just have a kind of an open session today. We're trying to connect more with you. Some of you might have seen myself or members of our team for in-person PD. You know, you might have seen George or Barry or Enrique or Tani or Carissa. Some of them are actually on the call today, so feel free to chat them if you would like to. For those of you who don't know me, I actually live in Denver, Colorado. I taught elementary, middle school math and science for many years. And I apologize if you've heard this story before. I'm a big tech nerd. I love basically discovering any kind of cool way I can integrate technology in the classroom. That led me to be an instructional coach. I did math instructional coaching and then tech instructional coaching, as well as assistant principal stuff for a while. So like I said before, this is kind of an open session. What I would love to do, and thank you everybody for sharing in the chat where you're from. That's super helpful. I saw Kingwood, Texas. I believe that's south. It's probably north of Houston. I was born in Fort Worth. That's the part that's getting snow. I think down south you're okay. Looks like we got Alabama. Someone from Albuquerque. I was just there the other day. I was in Los Lunas with George. I hope we got a Katy, Texas. Yeah, that's getting up there a little bit. So let's do this also in the chat. Just let me know, what do you do? You a teacher? You coach? You principal? District staff? Let me know what your role is real quick so I can kind of get to know the group here. Great, we got an IT director in here, awesome. Tech department, great. Awesome, instructional officer, secondary, good times. Oh yes, great. I'm glad that Michael gave us a good report down there. Yeah, Canvas crazy training, all that stuff going on. That gets really interesting. So, all right. Well, let's do this. So, like I said, this was designed to be a kind of open session. Like you have me, you have most of our PD team, I think, is on here right now. Is there anything that you have questions about? Something that you would like to learn or know about? Maybe something that you heard. If not, it's okay, but I'm going to open it up to everybody. So I'm just going to pause for a minute and see if anyone has anything they'd like to share, ask about. You know, hey, Dan, tell us something new that's happening or whatever it is. Oh, look, and Tara's back. Hey, Tara.
I'm so sorry. Hello.
That's okay. We just are launching. We were having a great little conversation in the chat. Got some different people from different areas and roles.
Thanks.
Everything from tech department to directors, instructional coaches, all sorts of good stuff. So I kind of opened it up to say,
yes.
Were there any topics that anyone would like to maybe launch or discuss? We have a full hour. We may not use a full hour, but right now, this is kind of open time for anyone to ask whatever they would like. So I'll give everybody a minute to type in your questions or thoughts in the chat.
Thank you for that. And just for your own familiarity, for those if it's your first time in the virtual office hours, it is more of an open format. And so we invite you to come with your questions and any challenges or whatever. And we'd love to be able to throw them on the table so that we can discuss as a group and learn from one another. So thank you for those introductions, Dan, and getting us started. I apologize, you all. Feel free to come off of mute with questions, or if you'd rather put it in chat, you can do that too.
All right, this is a great first question, and I'll start with this, and then if you have other things that you want to talk, just throw it in the chat. But the comment here is, hey, we just got these. They're up and running, but teachers are really just projecting to them. And this is pretty common. We see this a lot where we're used to projectors, right? I used to teach with a projector, and now we've got this nice view board, and we really just kind of treat it like a projector. So how do we make it interactive? How do we make it cool? So there's a couple ways to do this, but one of the ways that we recommend, if you really want things to be interactive, it's always best to plug in or connect. And the reason why is because when we're casting or wirelessly presenting to the board, the interactivity gets reduced. So to give you an example, if I take my teacher laptop here and I connect it to the board, which I already have plugged in, I get 20 points of touch, right? So that means I could technically have 20 kids around the board if I could somehow fit that many kids around the board. When I'm casting, I only have 2 points of touch. So the interactivity is greatly reduced. So one of the things that we like to encourage or show is how to connect to the board. And depending on the model of board you have, you might be able to connect with a USB-C cable, or you can connect with an HDMI and what we call the USB touch cable. It's actually a USB A to B cable. Let me see if I actually have one sitting right here that I can pull out real quick. This might help answer some questions. So this is not the exact cable, but it's kind of close. So essentially you have one side that is your normal USB, and then you have another one that kind of looks like this more square cable. And this is what goes into the touch port on the side of the board. And so once we kind of get to that point, we're able to start exploring some more of the interactive features. So let me give you an example. So we have my laptop connected. We're going to switch inputs here. And really where the interactivity comes from is from the myViewBoard whiteboard program. And remember, the myViewBoard whiteboard program, it's free to get, myviewboard.com/download. But let me give you an example of some of the quick interactive things we can do. So what I'm going to start with is just some of our shape tools. So as an example, and I'm going to take you on a virtual field trip here so you can kind of see where I'm pointing and going to. So you can see down here in the whiteboard, this is called my main toolbar. It's where most of my tools exist. This is the shape tool. And if I touch the shape tool a second time, it opens up what we call the shape menu where I can pick different pieces and shapes. So for example, I can select the circle shape, which seems kind of like a very basic, simple shape. But you'll notice that after I draw, say like a shape, I get this big menu that pops up over here. And this is what we call the adorning menu. This is interactive things or interactive ways that we can modify or adjust the shapes and circles. So as an example, and I was actually just working on this last night with my son. I'll back you up here on the tripod. We were just doing some fraction multiplication. And say we wanted to solve 3 times 3/4. Now I could do this casting, just handwriting and stuff like that. But let's talk about the interactivity. Now, one of the things you'll notice about my circle is that when I started writing on the board, I lost what's called the adorning menu. It's no longer there. And that's because there's a really important tool in the whiteboard program that a lot of people miss. And it's this green arrow icon. And if you don't know the name of that icon, it's called the select tool. And the select tool, when it's activated, I can't write anymore, but it lets me select or move things. So you can see here, I can move my circle. I can actually move the numbers. You can see here, I can move the lines and rearrange handwriting as well. So that select tool is really powerful. The other thing the select tool does is if I tap an object, see, I get my little menu back. Now there's lots of icons in the menu. I'm not going to go over all of these. Like some of them you can guess, like that little trash can would delete the circle. The little lock would actually lock it, so I couldn't delete it. The paint bucket would fill it. But let's take a look at this icon here, this hexagon. If I click that, you'll notice that it gives me a certain number of pieces that I can choose from. My fraction is 4th, so let's choose 4. And you'll notice when I select that my circle turned into a 4-piece fraction. Not only did it turn into a 4-piece fraction, but with that select tool, all these pieces become individual pieces, right, that I can start dragging around. And remember, I told you the board is multi-touch. So if you have multiple kids coming up here, they can all move these around at the same time. if you could somehow fit that many kids around the board. So that's one example of being interactive, is just getting this whiteboard program open, start playing around with some of the shapes. Another thing we like to introduce is what we call the backgrounds. So down here in the bottom left, you'll see there's mountains. That's where I live, near the mountains. We actually got 8 inches of snow this morning. 8 inches of snow and not even a school delay. How about that? That's crazy. So we're going to go to the mountains. And you're going to notice that we have all these different templates you can choose from, right? Teachers love these, especially if you're a gym teacher, set up plays. I used to coach middle school basketball. Handwriting, maps, periodic table, coordinate planes, all this different stuff. Any primary teachers, you got some lined paper there. The point is that when you find something, you can select it and apply it as a background. And now, not only do we have a template, but because, again, it being multiple touch, we could have a game or an activity really quickly, right? The teacher could call out a shape and the students have to draw it, or they could race, right? Using their fingers, or they can use the styluses that come with the board. There's lots of really little quick ways that you can kind of jump into this. So that's just a couple examples. Let me stop and see if there's any questions about things like backgrounds or shapes, or what we kind of call the basic tools of the whiteboard. I'll just pause for a minute and you can ask in the chat. And I see another comment here while maybe questions are coming up. How do I get the cool lights around the back of the board? Well, unfortunately, ViewSonic does not sell the lights behind the back of the board. I actually bought mine off Amazon. I am definitely a nerd. You can see I have lights all over my office because I like the ambiance. So I actually buy off Amazon what are called Govee lights, Govee. I'm not paid by Govee or anything like that, so feel free to go check that out. The question here is do I DJ? Something tells me this is like George or someone asking these questions, but no, I don't DJ. I was nicknamed DJ Dan in college, but only because I like electronic dance music. I do like it. So yes, lights are very cool. And for anyone who's paying attention, I do have it customized to be the ViewSonic little finch color lights, right? So you can see they're adjusting to our beautiful little rainbow birds. Okay, so that's one of the ways I like to quickly get interactive with almost very little training or extra effort. Just connect my laptop, get away from casting. It's not that you have to abandon casting. It's just that by plugging in, it makes it more interactive. And really what you're looking for is that myViewBoard software. That's really what gets you started. Now, once they get comfortable just pulling out things like the pen and the shapes and some of that stuff, try to get the teachers to log in, right? We want to be logging into the whiteboard. So if you don't know how to do this, let me explain real quick. So when you open the whiteboard program, you're going to see that there's this little person icon in the bottom right corner. And when you click on that, it opens up what we call the sign-in window. And the sign-in window lets you sign in with most of the accounts that we use in schools. So a lot of teachers have Google accounts. A lot of teachers have a Microsoft account, a OneDrive account. I'm just going to use my Google account. So I'm just going to click the G here. And then that's going to open up my browser, and it's going to let me pick my school email. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that. Go ahead and hit continue. And then all I need to do is just go back to the whiteboard program here. And you're going to see that I'm logged in. And the way that you know you're logged in is if you look in the top left, it'll have your name or your email up here. That's your indicator that you're signed in. So what did that do? Well, if I come into the whiteboard, there's this icon that we kind of get made fun of a little bit, but it's called the magic box. I know it's a little bit of a silly name, but it's where the magic happens. It's how we import or bring stuff into the whiteboard. Let me show you what it looks like really quickly. There you go. It really does look like a box. Okay. And so if I go here because I'm logged in, I can access my Google Drive. Now, why is this important? Well, if I was using the ViewBoard just as a projector, I might pull up my Google Slides or my PowerPoint because, I'm a little old school. I just like to project it and click through my slides. Well, we now know that the more that kids can interact with the content that's being displayed instead of it just being static, right? The more they'll retain, the more they'll learn. And so what I can do is, instead of just opening my Google Slides directly in Google Chrome or something like that, we can open our Google Slides into the software. So let me go into, find the little Goldie Finch one here. We do have a search as well in case you forget where your stuff is, which I have currently done. So I'm just going to do a search in my Google Drive, and there it is. All I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a double tap. It's then going to download and import this into my presentation. I can pick which pages I want. I'm just going to go ahead and select them all and then import them. And then ta-da, my Google Slides are in the whiteboard. And you might say, well, why did I do that extra work? Why did I have to log into the whiteboard? Why did I have to go to the magic box? Dan, you're giving me extra steps. It's true. It's a little bit extra steps. However, let's take a look at some of the benefits. So first things first, you'll notice with that select tool, look, I can move my Google Slides now. Have you ever tried to do like a sorting activity on Google Slides? It's terrible. You got to click the object first, then move it, and only one person can do it at a time. In myViewBoard, we can have a big sorting activity, and it's all interactive, and all the kids can do it at the same time. You'll notice that if you have YouTube videos, see how the YouTube video also imported from my Google Slide? What's the cool thing about that? Well, if you import a YouTube video into my ViewBoard, if I hit the play button here, go ahead and mute it, notice that it skipped the ads. There's no ads when you import your YouTube videos into my ViewBoard. And again, you can see here, I can move this text around if I want to move this video over. This is all quick touch interactive, and it's just a little better than just opening into Google Chrome. Well, in addition to that, I can pull out, say, my pen tool or my highlighter, and now we can annotate or mark it up, which again, we know that if we just put this paragraph up here on our Google Slides and made the kids read it, it's not as helpful. Something I used to do as a teacher, if we had a passage like this, I would have kids come up before we analyzed it. They would read it first, and then I would just have them individually come up and highlight using different colors. So green was words I didn't know, yellow was like I was 50-50, and red was I didn't know the word at all. And so they could come up and write and annotate on it. Now you'll notice that the text is a little small. We have what we call the hand tool. You'll see the hand tool down here in the main toolbar. This is what we call infinite canvas. And the infinite canvas tool lets us zoom in on that text, right? Can't necessarily do that on Google Slides. Now, if we highlight or circle something like that, and then I go back to my hand and I pinch in using that gesture motion, notice that it sticks or it stays where it's supposed to be. Or if I go back a page and then come forward again, everything's still where it is. So here's what I want you to catch. If you log into the whiteboard, okay, with your Google or Microsoft and connect your cloud storage, you can then open your content from the cloud storage in the whiteboard. Makes it interactive, so you move around, touch, sort. If you have YouTube videos, it skips the ads. And any of your annotations or work that you do, it's not an overlay, right? It sticks or stays where it's supposed to be. Let me pause and see if there's any questions or if that makes sense. All right, so let me ask you this then, because I don't see anyone typing anything, and that's okay. This is your session. If you came and got what you needed to and need to go, that's fine. For anyone else who's in here, is there anything that makes you wonder about, or anything you're curious about, or maybe a workflow that you want to know more about? And I'll pause and see if anyone has any more questions like that. The broad brush strokes. Yes, you can definitely, the paintbrush we recommend for that. See some typing coming in, so I'll hold off for a second.
If you prefer to come off mute, you should have access to your microphones as well to do that.
This is a good question. This must be my Los Lunas group. Okay, so I've been modeling with my laptop connected, but we do have some districts that just run off the ViewBoard OS, right? And so what's the best practice, right? How do we integrate or use things that are maybe a little more advanced? So one of the things that is sometimes a challenge is that the board by itself, right, isn't as powerful as, say, like a MacBook, right, or Windows laptop, and especially programs like Canvas, which are hosting a lot of our content. We're building slides and documents, and it was really creative. Some of the AI stuff I've seen on Canvas is really, really, really cool. So how do we kind of utilize that? Well, first you need to know what is myViewBoard compatible with, right, in terms of file formats. And so if I create something in Canvas and I want to export it or save it, what's the best format to use? Well, I could make it a PDF. The problem with PDFs is that they're static, right? So if it's static, I can't interact with it. So PDFs are great if you just want to mark it up, but I can't separate text out of it and do those neat little things that you might want to do. So if you can, PowerPoint or Google Slides is what gives you the interactivity, right? If I can export it to that kind of format, then when I import it to the myViewBoard, even if I'm on the ViewBoard OS, I can still make it interactive. But sometimes what I see is the teacher wants to open, say, the Chromium app, which is the built-in browser on the ViewBoard, go to their Canvas there, and then try to interact with it. Well, some of the problems with that is that, and this is true for almost any panel, when you're using the ViewBoard OS, it's Android, okay, which is a phone, it's a tablet, right? It's the mobile browser, right? Think Safari mobile or Google Chrome mobile. And so what happens then is that some websites don't always display correctly or interact the way that we want them to. And so you can be limited if you're just trying to open up, say, my Canvas directly in Chromium. Plus, if I'm in Chromium, then I lose access to the myViewBoard tools, right? Because it's difficult for myViewBoard to talk to them, right, or connect to them. So it's not a perfect answer. But what I like to do is help no matter what tool they're using, Canvas, Google Slides. I have a lot of teachers who are like, Dan, do I have to build in myViewBoard? No. It's okay. You like building in Google Slides. You're comfortable building in this another environment. Just get it to the format that myViewBoard understands and put it in your Google Drive or put it in your OneDrive or whatever your default cloud storage is. Once it's in the cloud, then this tool can access and play with all of it, right? And we don't have to worry about running, say, my browser and my whiteboard side by side. I can kind of do it all in one. So hopefully that makes a little sense. It's not, again, a perfect solution because the Chromium browser is still a mobile browser. It's not going to play the way that full Google Chrome or full Safari will play. But if we can get it into one of those compatible formats, then it usually plays a little bit better with the myViewBoard software. Of course. And thanks for joining. It was good to see you on there today. All right, so how do you switch users on the board? Now, this is a little bit of a loaded question, so I'm going to ask for some clarification. When you say switch users, are you talking about on the home screen where you see that it says guest on one side and it says login on the other, or are you talking about switching users in the myViewBoard software? If you could clarify, that would help me decide which path to take.
myViewBoard.
So if I'm on the board and I sign in, remember I said you can sign in with the G, right? Just Google straight in. The problem is that if I'm in this room and I want to log in, it takes a little while for me to type my username and password in every time. And then if I need to switch someone else, then they got to type their username and password in. You can do it, it's possible. However, we've made an app that can go, say, on an iPad, on your iPhone or your Android phone, called the myViewBoard companion app. And you'll notice in the companion app that there's a QR code on it. So the purpose of the app is it keeps you logged in with your either Google or Microsoft or whatever account you're using. So now when I have the myViewBoard open, I can walk up to any board, and my team, we do this all the time. If I walk into any classroom, I can turn on my phone, I get the camera on, get that QR code going, and I can just scan that, and boom, it instantly signs me in. You can see the notification down there. You can see my name in the top left corner. I can now open my Google Drive. I can access my lessons, teach. When I'm done, if I want to switch, all I have to do is click the X to sign out. You can click the sign out button, which is in the bottom right corner, and then you click the person with the two arrows going away from each other. Or in the companion app, you'll actually see the app has a sign out button. So if I forgot and I wanted to log out, all I have to do is press that. It's going to say, hey, do you want to sign out? I'm going to say yes. And then you'll see I'm back at the login screen. So the next person can come up and scan and scan and scan. So we have two ways to do it. You can log in with Google, just requires you to type everything out. Or if you want to do it short and sweet, you can grab the companion app, scan that QR code, and then it will log you in. One of the other things that some of the teachers don't necessarily know about is that if I'm using the companion app, not only does it sign me in, but I can use it to take a picture of things. So you'll see we have this feature called Throw. If I turn on Throw, it'll let me either turn on my camera or access my photos. If I go to camera, I'll take a picture. My son made this for me the other day, so I'll snap a picture of it. Click the little check mark. It's going to ask me for something called a host session ID. My host session ID is whatever is being displayed in the top left corner. So either my name or my email. The app will remember that, by the way, so you don't have to type it in every time. And then you just click this little mini paper airplane in the top right corner. You'll get this send or throwing notification. And then when it's finished, you just say, got it. And then it says, would you like to open it? You can say yes. And then ta-da, whatever I took a picture of goes onto the whiteboard. So my phone becomes like a mobile document camera. I can walk around and take pictures of student work. In addition to that, I can also use what's called whiteboard control. And what whiteboard control does in the app is, you'll see here, I can use my phone as a clicker, so I can click through my pages. This big circle icon here in the middle, this is what we call the laser pointer. So I can point my phone. You'll see I get that red dot there that I can move around the screen. Okay. All right. The question here. All right, so that's the user switching question. What's the difference between myViewBoard installed on a PC versus directly on the board? The two biggest things between what we call myViewBoard for Windows or myViewBoard for Android, which is the one that's just directly on the board, is that myViewBoard for Windows can utilize a couple Microsoft features. One of those being what we call Microsoft Immersive Reader. So for those of you familiar with Microsoft Immersive Reader, it basically is like a text-to-speech type tool. So if I have any kind of written text on the whiteboard, I can select it and it will read it out loud. There's also a translator, but that's a Microsoft specific tool. The version on the board doesn't have it. The other thing that the Windows version has is what we call Windows Toggle. So you'll look here, you'll see on the PC version, I have this Windows icon. Okay, it's next to the 3 people icon. If we switch to the home screen and we open myViewBoard on the board itself, you'll notice that I don't have that Windows button. So that's a really quick, easy way to tell the difference between the two. Why do we like Windows Toggle? Well, if I turn on Windows Toggle, essentially it turns myViewBoard into an overlay tool. So now, let's go to Google Earth here. If I'm using any kind of website or other program, you'll notice over here on the right, I have this little floating toolbar. This is the myViewBoard program. It's in toggle mode right now, or overlay mode. And so what this is going to let me do, search for something here. What this is going to let me do, you'll notice everything is touch or interactive. But if I need to write, I can come over here. I can click the pen icon. You'll notice that it expands my toolbar, gives me all the myViewBoard tools, including paintbrush, highlighter, or my text tools, or my shape. If I come over here and I start writing or annotating on top of my website, I can use all those tools as an overlay. It also allows me to switch back and forth between my mouse and my pen, because this is a problem we've heard from teachers, is that I'm teaching this page here, but it's an overlay and I need to quickly switch over to my music and change my, cricket camping sounds or whatever ambient noise I have going in the background. And so I can switch to another tab. You'll see here, I can go to my mouse. I can switch to another tab. All my writing's still there. It's an overlay. I can do whatever I need to on this page. And when I go back to the other page, everything's still lined up where it needs to be. It also lets me utilize what we call the screen capture tool. So if there is something that I'm working on that I want to save, I can take a picture of my work and then it will put it into myViewBoard. So the biggest 2 things are Immersive Reader. You get Immersive Reader on the Windows version because it uses that Microsoft tool, and you get Windows Toggle. Basically, everything else is identical between the 2 softwares, and that's purposeful. We try to make all the versions as close as possible. It didn't used to be like that in the past, but now all the features are very close, and they're going to continue to get even closer. Fingers crossed we can get a Windows Toggle type feature for the home screen version. Okay, let's see. We also have in here, can you turn that feature off or restrict it? You might be thinking about the companion app or signing into it. Basically, when we are using, say, like the companion app, okay, to log in, there's not really anything that would stop, someone to say, I want to, sign in with my Google account and log in and then go scan a QR code and be able to sign in. The reason is because it's meant to be a way for teachers to jump around or cross, go across classrooms. Kids don't have myViewBoard accounts. So when we work with districts, we help them set up what's called an entity. We sync their users, right? And that user sync is always teachers, right? It's not kids. We don't sync the kid accounts. It doesn't mean that a kid couldn't go sign up for a myViewBoard account on their own. They would just have to be very rogue. And the worst they could do is connect their Google Drive to it. They wouldn't have any kind of casting or throwing type features, right? So for example, if I was a teacher and I'm logged in and I'm teaching, okay, and let's pretend that a kid decided they wanted to get the companion app and they wanted to throw to the board. Well, even if they're logged in, their account does not match the account that is logged in. So even my team right now, they could try to throw from their phones with the companion app to my board. They could type in my name, but none of them could pop it up automatically. That's because the only way you can pop it up automatically is when your device and the person signed in, those emails matched. So the only way a kid could do it is if they somehow knew the teacher's email and password, which we've never seen before. We actually have a throw feature for students. It's through a website or a web portal. It's very popular. Teachers like using it for digital scavenger hunts, letting kids take screenshots of their work and sending it up to the board. But there's nothing in our software that kids can just instantly pop up or instantly cast or instantly show without some sort of security to it. So hopefully that kind of answered your question around that. Awesome. Other things, other thoughts? All right, so let's say I want to add a pre-built lesson into my ViewBoard. There's a couple ways to do it, but one of the easiest ways is just to get it through what we call the embedded browser. Now, the embedded browser, this tool exists both on Windows and the Android version. They're just in different spots. If I'm on the Windows version, the embedded browser is just down here in the main toolbar. If I'm on the Android version, which I currently am, you have to go to the magic box and then you have to find the kind of Chrome looking icon. But what this does is it opens up, kind of as the name suggests, a browser embedded into the whiteboard, right? So I'm not switching to another browser. You'll notice up here at the top, see how it says ViewSonic Originals? If I click on that, it's going to take me to the myViewBoard Originals page. Now there's, excuse me, a few different types of originals that we offer. Original backgrounds, original lessons. We also have like GIFs and images and things like that. And we also have games. So there's a lot of things you can access. And if you want to know where all those are, there's this little hamburger menu on the side that lets you access all of those. So right now we're in the original content, what we call the games or the activities. So let's pretend here that we want this Christmas tree rings game. I know it's past Christmas, but let's just go ahead and get in here. So I'm going to click on this. Now there's a YouTube video if I wanted to preview or see what it is. And then all I need to do is you'll see here that I should be able to click on this. Or maybe not. There we go. Find the apply button at the bottom. It's going to say, would you like to save your existing whiteboard? Because basically it's going to close your current whiteboard session and open a new one. So if I had a bunch of math problems or anything that I wanted to save, it's important to save those first. I'm going to say do not save. You're going to see now it's downloading that original lesson. And now it's going to open it in the whiteboard. So first page, second page, and we can go through all these. There's probably some videos. Looks like they have some numbers here that you can click on. Looks like they're locked, but this is an activity that they can, oh, here you go, and you can move the words up. I don't know the parts of the tree, so this is not a good one for me. But if you just go to that embedded browser, choose your lesson, find the apply button, you can directly apply it. The other way you can access your original lessons is through file management. So if I go to the folder icon, and this is true on both versions of the whiteboard, the folder with the document coming out of it is the open button. Again, do you want to save or not save? We're going to not save. And then whenever you see this icon, this red, blue, yellow, like a swirly bird, it's just supposed to be our logo, the little Goldian finch. If you click on that, that will take you to that embedded browser page as well. So you can go through the magic box to the embedded browser, or you can go directly through the file management. Just click the apply button for any lesson that you want to apply. All right, other questions or thoughts? Well, while I have everybody here, a lot of times you sit through something like this and you're like, wow, that was great. It's a lot of information. How do I get more information, or how do I continue learning about all this? Well, we have something called the ViewSonic Educator Community. This is kind of new for us, and this is a really great resource. It's really easy to get to. All you have to do is go to community.viewsonic.com. That's how we have these webinars, right? This is where everything goes. But what you're going to see, to get back to our homepage here, is that there will be information about upcoming webinars. You can ask questions if you're curious about, I'm having a problem. So if you've never used the forum, there is a login on the top right. You can just use your current myViewBoard to log in, right? To access this. You'll see that there's posts down here at the bottom where you can ask questions. You can also find district spotlights. So we have some different districts that we've highlighted. You can access previous webinar recordings. We also offer certification programs. So like the myViewBoard graduate program, it's a great place to get started, kind of on-demand, self-paced training. We also offer on-site professional development, which some of you have gotten before, right? You've had myself or someone from our team come out and lead PD. So if you're not using the community, that's the best way to stay in touch.
Any more questions coming in? Thank you, Dan. Thank you all for your questions. Again, what we're going to do with the virtual office hours, we're going to offer them monthly. Okay. And so it's very similar to the format that you just experienced today. That's going to be ongoing. And so we encourage you to bring your questions to this open format so that we can get them addressed, as well as be able to learn from one another. Your questions benefit us all. So again, thank you for that. Thank you, Dan. Regarding the community, these sessions will be recorded. And so if you'd like to go back and any nuggets you've gained or want to share out with others, you can definitely do so by going back to the recording. Dan showed you within the community where we keep our archived webinars and sessions. Also, if you registered, you'll get this recording via email. Okay. Any other questions, comments, anything else? Okay, you guys, I did put the link for the for the community in our chat. Feel free to click on that. Dan already walked you through to make sure you connect your school email so that you can seamlessly log into the community. You can always reach out and let me know if you have any additional questions. We, in addition to our virtual office hours, we will also be starting our Teaching Toolbox series, which I am super excited about, which will in fact include more members of our fabulous PD team. And so you'll see very shortly, probably sometime today, you'll see our registration link for that. That'll be coming up in a couple weeks, and that will be happening bi-weekly. So our goal is to make sure we provide you with the resources that you need within the community to support you within our ViewSonic ecosystem. Okay, well, again, I thank you for your time. I look forward to seeing you next time. You all have a very good evening and afternoon. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, y'all.